Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a very different kind of video. Firstly, there's always something, so I just want to say sorry. The washing machine is on. Hopefully you can hear me over it. I'll try and speak louder than normal so that you can hear me, but yeah, hopefully we'll be fine. This is a really difficult video to film. I didn't realise how difficult it was going to be for me until I started recording, and now I'm realising that actually this is really tough for me to make. And I am not entirely sure why, but I'm sure as I start explaining it will become apparent to me. The bits that I struggle most to talk about, that will probably be the catalyst of why this is a difficult video to make. Firstly, I just want to start off by saying that I'm mainly going to be discussing the last couple of years because one, that's so boring. No one wants to hear about my whole life. And secondly, I don't think that my childhood was any different to most people's. I had parents who had rules that they expected me to follow, and whether I agree with the rules or not, I feel personally that my childhood wasn't very different to anyone else's. I'm also a big believer in there's their side, and then the truth. I think that we all see things through the lens of our own eyes, and it's not for me to discuss things that involve other people and only put my side forward. If I was ever to do a video where I was discussing my childhood, I would have the people involved with me because I don't think it's fair to discuss it without them here. With that being said, I just want to give a really huge disclaimer that I am not going to be discussing anyone in particular. I won't be going into gory details that will make it obvious who I'm discussing. I don't think any of the people that I will be talking about will see this video, but if they did, I want it to be very clear that I'm not doing this to be disrespectful or inflammatory. I want to get my feelings out, and I don't even know if I'm going to post this because it's a very personal thing, and I kind of think that talking about my feelings on camera is helpful for me. I don't know why, but I feel really comfortable on camera and it kind of is like a video diary for me, so that's why I'm doing it. Before I decide what to title this video or what terminology to use while I do it, I just want to Google quickly a word. So the Cambridge Dictionary defines a cult as a religious group often living together whose beliefs are considered extreme or strange by some people. And then another one is a particular system of religious belief. Now, I want to make it really clear. I do not believe that I grew up in a cult. I believe that I don't know how I would describe being a Jehovah's Witness. I think that the main reason that it can't be called a cult is because you are encouraged to research things for yourself. Hello, I'm just editing this and I want to pop on to clarify any points that I feel like I didn't make clear in the video. With that being said, with the you're encouraged to research, I wanted to say, and I forgot to say, that you're encouraged to research within the encouraged publications. So, are you encouraged to research? I'll let you decide. And because we have separate lives away from each other, we don't live in a big communal area. But with that being said, there are a lot of traits to Jehovah's Witnesses which would mean that I can understand why some people would consider it a cult. And I'm not going to title this video in a clickbait way. I'm just going to say I'll probably put cult in quote unquote because it depends on who you ask. I personally don't think that I was part of a cult, but that probably is more to do with me not wanting to admit it than anything else. So I'm going to start with 2 years ago. I moved to Plymouth. I had been living in Buckinghamshire, which is near London and Oxford, and I had been brought up as a Jehovah's Witness. My parents were Jehovah's Witnesses when I was born. My family made their decisions whether to stay or go as Jehovah's Witnesses, but in 2018 I was a very devout Jehovah's Witness. I was something which is called a pioneer, which means that I do a certain amount of hours doing door-to-door work or discussing Jehovah's Witnesses in the Bible with people. So I was really involved. I got a job here. I tried to work part-time. I worked full-time whilst doing 70 hours of work a month for Jehovah's Witnesses free of charge, obviously. I wasn't going to get paid for it because it's a voluntary thing. I was involved in building work that Jehovah's Witnesses do. Jehovah's Witnesses can volunteer to build kingdom halls, which are where they meet to have their meetings and discuss things, and I volunteered to be involved in the building work that is done, and again, that's done free of charge. It's a volunteer thing. So I was really involved, and I was very, very busy as a Jehovah's Witness. I had such a good group of friends. I was so happy. I loved my friends. I loved my life. I was so happy to be one. And I think that that's one thing which gets, and I don't want to discuss other people's experiences with Jehovah's Witnesses because I have no idea, but I do want to make it really, really clear. I was so happy as a Jehovah's Witness. I would not have done 27 years as a Jehovah's Witness if I wasn't happy. I also think now's a good time to explain that I'm one of these people who doesn't like to demonize an entire time in my life, and I'm also honest, probably to my own detriment, and I know that I'll probably get a lot of people being very negative here, and rightly so, for the things that happen within the Jehovah's Witness community and are allowed to happen and are protected by certain rules. And I'm not saying that I was happy with those things happening. I'm just saying that I was willfully blind because I was in a community that I felt safe in, myself personally, and that's on me. That's completely on me to have not been a mature adult and realised as an adult the things that were happening. And I'm not going to blame my childhood for that because I am a grown woman. I should have clicked at one point or another that it was wrong, but it is what it is, and I'm not going to say that I wasn't happy and pretend that I was forced to be there, because I wasn't, and I was happy. So yeah, I just want to clarify that I'm not saying I was happy with the things that were happening and are, I'm sure, still happening. I just wanted to explain that I was happy at the time. Probably made that worse. Okay, bye. There were so many things that I did disagree with, of course. I think the main thing, of course, which most people bring up is the attitude towards homosexuality and the whole LGBTQ plus community as a whole. I have always been a very liberal thinker, I suppose, as someone who was brought up with an incredibly strict religious upbringing. I believe that love is love, obviously, and I think that everyone should be able to love who they love, and I don't think that the gender of the person that you love has anything to do with who you are as a person. I am going to discuss things which are public knowledge. These things you can find if you Google, and they are public record, so I know I can discuss these things and not be at risk of being sued. There was certain things within the Jehovah's Witness community which happened. It started from the top down, to do with illegal activity, and that was always something that sat really, really badly with me, obviously. I want to make it clear as well that Jehovah's Witnesses have always defended themselves against these actions of a few and do not want to be associated with the actions of a few. And I totally understand that. I think there are people who use any kind of authority, the police, religion, government, to get power and to use that. And I don't think that that demonizes the entire community of Jehovah's Witnesses. However, I did find it very hard to be in a religion which would allow these things to happen. But if I wanted to be in a relationship, a consensual relationship with another adult, that was an issue. And obviously I could have been in a relationship. I don't want to be over the top and be like, oh, I couldn't have been with anyone. I could have, but the rules were incredibly strict with who you could be with, how you could court or date, and that's tough. It's really tough growing up like that. You are, well, again, I think I'm generalising, so I'm just going to talk for myself. I am incredibly emotionally stunted because of that. I think that experiences that most normal teenagers have when they're growing up, heartbreak, fun, happiness, that first bit of love when you just don't know where it's going to go and it's crazy, I think those are really important for children to have. And as a Jehovah's Witness child, you are brought up incredibly mature, incredibly, it's funny, and mature in some ways. I think you're forced to be very sensible. Maybe sensible is the right word, but I think emotionally you are stunted in a lot of ways. And I would say emotionally I'm very immature. I think I'm probably stuck at about 18, 19 emotionally sometimes, and when it comes to dealing with my problems, I don't think I had the tools to do that. And again, it's hard to know whether that's just your upbringing or the religion that you're in. I'm kind of rambling, I know, and I'm sorry. I hope I'm covering as much as I need to. So I moved to Plymouth because I wanted to be near the sea. I love Cornwall. I think it's beautiful here and I love it here, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here. So I'm really happy in that sense that, you know, that kind of moved me to move here. But yeah, I had a really good life. I was working, I was struggling, you know, like I was struggling in lots of ways. You feel very lonely as a Jehovah's Witness, and I was working part-time, so I didn't have much, you know, in the way of material things, but I was happy. I spent time with my friends, I went to parties, I had a relatively normal life. Oh, car. And then in 2019, around September, so a year ago in 4 days, I decided, oh, wouldn't it be so funny if I downloaded Tinder? I wanted to see the things that people say. I think it's funny. My boyfriend thinks I'm really horrible for having done this, but I found it funny, so just being honest. I had it for a day and I matched with my boyfriend. And as soon as I did, I was like, uh-oh, this isn't good. I loved him from the first second that I saw him. Oh God, I don't know why I'm getting so emotional. I really, really loved him from the first second that I saw him. And we were talking and I thought he was a really nice person. I'm going to try and just talk through the tears because I don't want this to be that kind of video. So I don't want to just have a break and start crying and then come back. I just want to get through it. So we were talking, and my friend that I was really close with at the time, she was very ill. So I didn't really talk to her about it. I'd been best friends with her since I moved here. We were so close. We spent most days together. We talked on the phone all the time. So she was really ill, and so I wasn't telling her about this whole situation. And to be honest, even if she'd been well, I probably wouldn't have told her. I feel like it would have come up quicker if I had been with her like I had been before. But I wasn't. So I met my boyfriend and we started talking, and he had a tough time of it. He had a really tough time of the backwards and forwards of me not knowing what I wanted. And I think the hardest part of being in a situation like that is having to choose. I think it's cruel in a way is how I would view it. I don't think it is, but I think that for me, having gone through it, it's kind of crueler to have to choose, because then it's on you. The onus is on you to be like, well, you've chosen to cut off everyone. And I really didn't want to lose my friends. That was a really hard part of it. I loved my friends so, so much, but I'd met someone and I was very, very quickly falling in love. And since then we've moved in together, so clearly we had a very quick, we've only been together a year, but it went very quickly. I think we really cared about each other a lot, and it was very hard to pick between. Fortunately, my closer family, like my sisters, aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, and my mum has the same amount of contact. We've never had like a huge amount of contact since I've moved. We're not that kind of relationship, you know, we'll check in every couple of weeks. But it was, in the moment, really, really hard to choose between two lives. And I think I went through so many times of being so angry because I just thought, why can't I have both? I'm not hurting anyone by being with this kind, considerate, lovely person. And I've got lots of friends who have left, who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses anymore, and they've had even harder experiences than I have had with battling with their identities. And I feel so guilty in so many ways for so many things. I think a big part of religion is guilt, and that's any religion. And it's really hard because I feel so guilty for having been part of an organisation which discourages people from being who they are. And I also feel really guilty for having come away from that and not having stuck to my promise, and I don't want this to be a pity party, because I have got such a wonderful life and I've always had a wonderful life. Fortunately, I'm one of these people who, whatever situation I'm in, I will always be happy or unhappy. The situation will never change that, because will always try and be positive or negative in the situation. My positivity and negativity comes from me. It's not because of my circumstances. So I have some wonderful, wonderful memories. And I think that's a really hard thing as well, because when you have really happy memories, it's like when you break up with an ex, I imagine. I never have, so who knows? But I imagine it's like when you break up with an ex, and it's hard. You kind of wish that you hated them and you hated every memory that you had, but sometimes you don't. Sometimes you look at pictures and you think, oh, I was so happy then. And it's really bittersweet, because I have so many memories that I'm really happy with. And they're hard to look at now, because, you know, I can't message that person and say, oh, do you remember this? You know, it's very hard. I think the main reason that I'm wanting to make this video now is because I had some Jehovah's Witnesses come to my house the other day, and they had found my address from my landlord, who used to be a Jehovah's Witness. No, sorry, who is a Jehovah's Witness. They found my address, my new address, from them, and they came to my house. I didn't see them because I was out, but they left something through my door, and I think that that for me is one of the main things that I would describe Jehovah's Witnesses as a cult, is because they make it really, really difficult, under the guise of you're free to go whenever. They make it really difficult for you to leave, because they will constantly be there and remind you that they're there. I have recently chosen to disassociate myself, which means that I no longer want to be identified as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I want to be cut off completely from them, and I want to be separate. There's so many things I could say, and I'm happy to do like a follow-up to this. If anyone has any questions, I'd be really interested to see what people are interested in. This is a really little amount, and I don't think I've really said anything, but I just want you guys to know, if you're struggling with anything with identity, or if you feel trapped, the pandemic has triggered a lot of us who have come from backgrounds like this, because we're right back where we were whenever we left. You know, it sent me spiraling back to a year ago when I first left. You're cut off from everything and you're isolated, and as someone who leaves a religion or a cult or a family who don't accept you, whatever your circumstances, that's how you feel, completely isolated. And I'm so lucky that I have my boyfriend. I couldn't have done this, and I wouldn't have done this if it weren't for him. So I'm really, really grateful to him, and I love him so much. And I'm so happy that everything fell into place as it did. But that doesn't take away the fact that it is very, very difficult to turn your back on everything you know and start again. And I don't want anyone to think that I feel like my life is hard, or that I've suffered, you know, greatly, because I haven't really. But it's been a tough year, and I feel like I'm coming out of the other side, and this was very therapeutic. I didn't realise I was going to feel so good after this, for getting it all out, but I feel really good. And anyway, as I was going to say, I want anyone to know who feels trapped in their circumstances, whether it's religion, family, circumstances beyond your control that mean that you feel trapped. I want you to know, from wise old Beth, that you aren't. And mentally, you can be anywhere you want. You can choose to free yourself mentally if you can't physically. And I want you to know that you deserve to live life now. You don't have to wait for some future time or change who you are to live your life happily. Just live your life now. I think this last year has shown all of us that life is too short to take for granted, and if you're not happy, then change what you can. And if I can do anything in my small way to help you, if you want to talk to me about anything, I like to think, and I have been told, I'm quite a good listener. And if you ever want to talk to me about anything, or if you feel trapped currently and this helps you and you want to talk and have someone who is free of judgment for whatever decision that you decide to make, then I'm always here. My Instagram is public, so please, please, please talk to me if you ever need any help. Oh my god. I'm very sorry that I got emotional. I didn't want to do a Tati Westbrook, but here we are. Yeah, thank you so much. If you got to this point of the video and you're still watching, thank you so much. Like I said, if you have any questions that you would like answered, I am an open book. I'm as open as they come. So if you have any questions, then please leave them down in the comments or DM me, and I'll get back to normal programming later. But I just really wanted to get this out there, and I felt that my YouTube, as a small little tiny thing that I have, was something that maybe I could get my feelings out to people who maybe need to hear something like this. Anyway, have a lovely day. The sun's shining where I am. I hope it is where you are. And let's not be sad. Let's all smile and get our feelings out. Let our feelings be felt. And then let's be happy where we can. Okay, I love you all very much. And thank you for watching. Bye.